Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gland Bodybuilding. Mountain. And today I'm going to talk to you about a lost concept, or maybe I'm the first one that ever discovered this concept, but I'm guessing that a lot of the old school guys knew this and instinctually did it, as much as it isn't taught a lot on YouTube or on social media right now. Now, one thing you want to know as a natural bodybuilder is what is natural as far as movement for your own individual body. Now, this doesn't mean what is coordinated or uncoordinated, because some people are just uncoordinated and they need to do some exercises for a period of time first in order to get a certain amount of awareness or coordination in the body, and then start to experience the body on a deeper level, and therefore learn what is good pain and bad pain and so forth. So there is a definite beginner aspect to this, and this is why a lot of people, they just crave templates and they want to, just have easy answers and so forth. But what I'm going to say to you is that if you have been training for 6 months or a year or a couple of years, the things I'm going to say to you right now are going to be quite apparent, at least at some point. So one thing that came to me a long time ago was that when I moved my body efficiently in a way that felt like I was putting the forces on the tissue, but not necessarily making the exercises awkward by overextending the ranges of motion and so forth, I tended to get a lot better results. One of those exercises that this happened in was the bicep curl. I had lots of guys in the gym come up to me when I was doing barbell bicep curls, and they'd say, "Hey, why are you only doing, those short reps or those half reps?" Because I keep the elbows back and I would just bend the elbows. Where a lot of those guys, they'd have to bring the bar up to their chin every single time or up to their nose, because they were basically numb from the neck down. These guys just weren't aware, because when they were doing this, they were feeling their front delts, but just ignoring the fact that the forces were acting out that way. Where with my own body, I knew that as soon as I brought the elbows forward, I'd start to bring in the front delts so much that I was like, okay, my front delts are wearing out, but what about my bicep? So when I kept the elbows back and I did the constant tension reps, which didn't look as pretty, I ended up hitting a lot more intensity on the bicep brachii. And that caused my arms to get to 18 3/4, and that is at low body fat levels. I had a very good arm, right? And this is before I dislocated the shoulder and did the stretch Armstrong on this one, and the chiropractor injured this one and stuff. Before those injuries, my arms were my best body part, because I chose to listen to how my body was responding and where I was feeling those forces. Another example of this is the squat. As you guys know, I get shit on for my squatting all the time, right? People are like, "Oh, you're doing it all wrong. You got to go down and you got to make it awkward and you got to kiss your testicles to the floor," and all these things, right? But the fact is that I knew that when I was going to go slam dunk a basketball, not that I could slam dunk, but I could grab the basketball rim at one point. I knew that I would jump from a certain height, like a certain depth of squat, in order to get the most amount of vertical. And that was where my ideal amount of strength was. And that's where I chose to keep my squat. And the other reason for it was that when I went deeper in my squat, I started to notice that the tension would transfer from the muscle bellies into the knees, and it would also start to transfer away from the legs into different parts of the lower back and the sides of the hips and so forth. And I wasn't getting the tension where I wanted it. It was just becoming more awkward instead of more efficient. And by doing my shorter, pumping, constant tension type reps with the squat, I ended up developing some really awesome legs on the natural bodybuilding stage. Now, this doesn't mean it's the same way for you. It doesn't mean that the form is the same for you, but that was what was efficient for my body type. And that's why I landed on that. Another example of this was the fly. The dumbbell flies, a lot of times I'd see guys go all the way down and overstretch. So they were stretching their pec, and then they'd stretch the shoulder capsule, and therefore start to irritate their shoulders. And they'd be coming up to me all the time. And they're doing these deep dumbbell presses and deep dumbbell flies. And they'd be like, "Hey, I have an irritated shoulder. I don't understand why." And they're getting all these weird trigger points and stuff in their rotator cuff muscles. And I was like, "Hey, you're going down too low." But the thing is, they didn't want to listen to where the tensions are playing out and then stop when they noticed that the tension was starting to leave and then go into the joint more than the actual muscle belly. And then they'd end up with other issues in the shoulder. And you can also see how when you have an injury or something that happens outside the gym, that it's even more important for you to pay attention to where those forces are playing out, because if you try to move exactly the same through the exact same range of motion with the exact same amount of intensity and weight, your body might not be able to do it, not in the same way, right? You'll notice if you tear a muscle in a certain way, now the stability of that joint has changed, and now you need to make accommodations for that. So the thing I found a lot of times on social media now and in the fitness industry is that people think if you make something awkward, it's automatically more efficient or more intense or better for muscle growth. But I'm going to say the opposite. I'm going to say that when you move against the efficiency of the body, the way that it moves naturally, you are compromising it and causing more stress on the ligaments and tendons, which leads to an injury. And when you move beyond what feels natural for the physical body, right? And I'm not talking about an out of shape physical body. I'm talking about an in shape and a stretched out body, like a body that has flexibility and so forth. When you start trying to make the movements as awkward as possible, what you're going to do is injure yourself instead of gain more muscle mass. So working with what comes natural to you is going to be more important, and it's going to create a lot more results in the long run, even though other people around you won't understand it. You know, I had people in the gym all the time saying, oh, geez, I don't know how you got those good results doing things your way because, you know, you must just have good genetics, right? That's always the excuse. You have good genetics, that's why. But the truth is that I embraced how I moved. I embraced what felt right, and I paid attention. And then that's why I got great results. And you can too. And I see it all the time in the comments. There's always people that say, geez, they started listening to their body, really paying attention to this part of the whole natural bodybuilding journey. And from doing so, they've gotten more results than they ever had in their life and less injuries. And that's the whole point. So yeah, remember, what feels natural is sometimes the right thing. Maybe it's not always the right thing, but for the most part, it's the right thing, assuming that your awareness is in the right place and you're in shape and so forth, you know? So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope this helps you out in your training. And if you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgalantbodybuilding.com. And thanks to the paid supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.